Hello everybody, welcome to this playthrough for Master Division for the Tranquil Gardens 18-hole cup. We're playing a mix of the Namhae Cliffs and the Sakura Hills. If you do enjoy the content here on the channel, make sure to hit the thumbs up button. Also subscribe and turn on the notifications. For those of you that are looking to take the next step in your game, we do offer the ultimate tournament text guides and exclusive tour shootout guides on patreon.com/golf-tommy. For this particular tournament, we do an ultimate tournament text guide for Master Division, adapting for the wind changes from the qualifying round and the final round. Free-to-play ball alternatives and paid ball alternatives. Last but not least, quick 9 guides. Yes, we have started to double into that, and we will be doing a quick 9 guide for Master Division the 17th and the 20th of February. Link to get access to those guides are in the description down below, as we're selling them separately to the packages that we do have. So check it out if you're interested. For a small fee, you get access to those guides and can cruise yourself to victory. Info box on the right hand side to get the club distance adjustment, elevation adjustment, also a ball and club type I suggest you to play with. Let's go to hole number 1. For hole number 8 here, we're gonna start with a power 4 ball in complete minimum distance. I would recommend to start with a 4th anniversary ball or with any other, or like the open ball, to find both the spins and the landing spot the quickest way possible. We're looking to have 1 right spin and 3 back spin, and the tip of the ball guideline to fall down 1/3 into the bright green square row. Here we're looking to go with a 1201 in terms of pull angle. Like a small 1201 is what we are looking for here. And this angle here is going to be called for no curl. No curl in this angle, center the ball, hit perfect. And we're going to actually have a better chance to drop this one than I expected from the beginning playing this shot, because I actually dropped this one a decent amount in practice to then obviously miss live when it counted. So there we do have hole number 8. Nice simple setup. Hole number 8 should never be a par 3 you should be expecting to drop, but with this shot you definitely have a good chance. Get the guides on patreon.com/golf-tommy. Alright, so here we do have option number 1, send it. And here we advise not to play this shot if you haven't checked the wind angle. And how do you check the wind angle? And that you do after being pulling 10 rings with Apocalypse level 8, 9.2 rings with a POC 7, or 8.5 rings for a POC 5 and 6. I would strongly advise you to not play this shot if you, after your wind angle check, have a plus yardage that is 24 or above. And the reason for that is then you have too much crosswind and you risk to not reach to the fairway pad, and that would be an automatic drop into the water. But if you do have the wind angle correct, or you just want to gamble and you don't really care, then you play 4.5 bar top spin, 1 right spin. And what's going to happen is that depending on where you reach on the fairway pad, look how close that is. It was just at the beginning of that fairway pad, but it's either going to bounce you over the rough and land you nicely on green, or it's going to be clipping the rough, rolling out, so you do have a wedge. So it's a very risky shot that you're taking, but obviously the reward could be massive. But I would once again strongly advise you to do that wind angle check by doing those ring pulls. So for an example, let's say I have Apocalypse level 8, I should be checking my plus yardage off the 10 ring pull, and let's say that I should be adjusting 16 rings for my wind. Then I pull 10 rings, I take a pause, and then I check my plus yardage, then I pull the rest of the 6. So that's how you do it, and that's, in my opinion, the only way to be 100% knowing if you're gonna reach to the pad or not. Otherwise it's gonna be a gamble, and you're gonna make it sometimes and you're not gonna make it sometimes. For the EB school on the second shot, we are either going to play with no top spin, or like no spin at all, or we are going to play with max top spin play. This is a replay glitch, that's why it only shows +2, but it's still the same type of distance here. I judge this slider to be 55%, that's what I'm playing as well. And you can see here now that I'm having the ball guideline just slightly through the hole. I would definitely make sure that I'm looking at it from the side, so I'm not aiming on the right side of the pin, which is very easy to do in that situation. So in this instance, when it comes to the max topspin rule, I play EB school minus 30% P4. If I would be playing no spin, then I would be playing plus 25% P5 as EB school. My pull was very messy, and I definitely didn't get the correct amount of range. That's why a great left there is actually going dead center. But with the max top spin play, we shouldn't have any issue getting that one to drop with greats. For hole 1, option 1, the layup, we're gonna have a send it to, want to be perfectly clear with that. 3 topspin, 3 left spin from NMT with power 2 ball with our Apocalypse. Can't be simpler than that. Adjust is max plus 10 P3. And once we have done that, we're going to add 1 ball of left curl. Try to be perfect, and here you don't have to play precision. You can play with any ball that do have wind 5 or wind 4 with power 2 plus. So it's just important that you open up with a power 2 ball at NMT. Then you can swap after that. 370 yards, the drive has been very consistent to that. This shot has been tested for Thorn and Falcon, just to give everyone a way to play with their favorite club. Pin check plus 2. We're gonna play with no spin. Again, simple consistency is the key. So you see no spin, we're leaving the tip of the ball guideline approximately half a green square short of pin. And now we're going to use a 62% slider with a 10% elevation, P2 numbers from plus 3. So plus 3 is that, and we're adding or subtracting 0.1 from there. And we're gonna do the same thing with Falcon as we do with Thorn. The difference between Falcon and Thorn is that with Falcon 7, we're going to have to add 4% slider this, as it has 2 yards lesser power. Everything obviously like that is instructed. So here we do have a nice little eagle to start with on hole number 1. Hole number 6, and we're going to play this for an eagle. We will have an outside chance for an albatross, but I'm not going to waste any of the good balls here, because it's going to be such a rare one to drop. NMT, start with a P4 ball and switch to a luminary. I would say for those of you that do play with Apocalypse level 6 or 5, should be playing with an albatross ball with topspin boost, or you're going to have to play with a ball with less wind, which is a wind 4 or even a wind 5 for Apoc 5 users. Max distance plus 10, and then we go half a ball of curl, trying to hit perfect. The goal is to get to 385 or more. A great left will be worse, because then we are further away from the green. Once again, everyone, you can play with a ball with more wind resistance if you do want to spend that type of ball, but I feel there is no necessity to do so here, because this alba chance will still not be it's still not going to be a shot that's going to drop, even if we have the perfect drive and a perfect execution on the second shot. It's still going to have a lot of factors involved. But obviously we will do our best suggestion to the guide to make sure that all Apoc 5 up to Apoc 8 can get into decent range. So when it comes to the second shot, we're looking for the sticky spot, which is on the right side here. Move around, you can see where when the tip of the ball guideline is barely not moving left or right, that's the spot. And then we're going to apply whatever spins needed, so we have 1 green square past the pin and 2 green squares left of the pin. Unfortunately now we do have a problem with me having that great left, which puts me to get into overpower, which is not good, but it's still going to be super duper safe to get ourselves the eagle. Adjustment here is from plus 4. I played 70% slider plus 20% P5, and then I'm adding and subtracting from there. And now it becomes messy as I go into overpower. I'm going to have to use overpower, and that becomes the miss to the right. Great right has been tested. That wasn't in the rough, and the great left obviously is super safe. If there is no interest in even going for the albatross, then you can get yourself to a spot more left, give yourself miles of room on the right and on the left, and just take the eagle and be done with it. This is unfortunately a very boring win on otherwise a very fun hole if we do have a tailwind. Get the guides on patreon.com/golf-tommy. For hole number 1, the layup. Here we are going to go with 3 right spin. We're going to go with 5.8 top spin, and we're playing an NMT adjustment or NMT position. What that means is that you're not going to touch the target until it's time to adjust the rings. Now, max plus 20 is the adjustment, not max plus 0. So max plus 20 is what we're using. Once we have adjusted, we're going to go max curl to the right, max overpower with a completely slow needle. For those of you that do want to play with a win 5, you can do that as well. It's just the reason I want to display it here with a win 4 ball is because you don't have to. You can still have an extremely good chance for a drop with a win 4 ball. Those of you that may ask, can't we send it this one? Yes, you can, but obviously that puts the water and the bunker in play, and in the end, is it worth it? That's a question you have to answer yourself. But we provide a solid layup option that has absolutely no risk for water, which is a good thing to have in mind. Now, second shot, we're playing for either complete min distance or we're pushing up rings from min. We are going to go with 1.5 backspin. Is our default spin. So if you are going to play rings from min, you set 1.5 backspin that you push up until you have the ball guideline just through the hole. Always pull over bullseye, and we're using 10% elevation P5 numbers to do the rings from min. Perfect ball it is. Bounces on the green, right at pin for beautiful eagle here to start with on hole number 1. Get our guide for on Sakura Hills hole number 2. This is a par 3 where there are a lot of elevation to be used here. The default elevation for this type of hole is plus 20, but you will see maybe yourself, but others to play this one plus 14, plus 50. And the reason for that is because they are compensating for the wind instead of doing an offset that I'm doing there with the spins. One thing to think about as well as this par 3 is that when it is this opened, you will always have no problem to get the ball to the hole, but it's going to be difficult to be consistently dropping this one for an hole-in-one. What you're going to need to do is to find a spot a bit far back, like I'm doing there. It's going to help you in terms of attacking the pin. You can use the Guardian, you can use the Cataclysm instead as like a substitute to the Sniper to allow yourself to pull less than 10 rings. I mean, there are many different ways of going about it on this par 3, but in the end, it's going to be no problem for you to get the birdie. A win 5 ball is definitely recommended if you have the possibility, but with a win 4 ball, it's definitely going to be possible. It's just going to decrease the drop rate a bit. For hole number 3, you're gonna see me struggle. Here we do have a headwind, and from the third tee, without any sort of a great topspin boost here, we can't really get over to the final fairway. So this is going to be a very difficult one to get a drop from distance if, once again, if you do have a headwind. So what I'm doing here is that I do lay up. I'm obviously not going to use my Sniper. I'm going to use my Apocalypse for the most distance possible. Adjust max plus 10. Using a little bit of overpower as well, together with some topspin, because the intention here now is to get this ball as far down the fairway possible without rolling into the rough and the sand, has to be said as well. And that could be trickier than what it looks. And obviously when we are getting this drive so short, only to 350, we don't really have much to do on the approach. Sure, we can try that I'm doing here in the video by using the final fairway to somewhat bounce up towards the pin, but this is such an inconsistent position with our club that is just going to be pure luck if we get this one in the hole. You will see me miss loads to the left, but that's because, again, it's not a good spot that I'm finding. You can try to bounce on the first fairway to try to trickle the ball up towards the pin, but it's not really going to give you any help in terms of consistency, as once again, the final fairway is not our best friend. So if you do have a headwind of tee, you're going to see yourself struggle, and an eagle here is definitely going to be way good enough to get a better score than your opponent, because there will be a lot of opponents then getting only a birdie. If you do have a crosswind or a tailwind, then we're gonna do our best to get ourselves over to the second fairway, and then it's a different world, obviously, because from there we can then attack in a better way for an albatross. On the drive here on hole number 5, this is the layup. We do have a send it as well. Rock at complete max distance with a P3 ball, swap to a pock and thorn bag. 7 top spin, 2 left spin, and this is a play that has been tested for wind 4 and wind 5. We're gonna look to make an adjustment that's going to be max minus 5% elevation, P3 numbers, and the reason we're using minus elevation is to avoid adjusting down the cliff, especially in higher winds. Half a ball of left curl with circle drop overpower, and we're gonna bounce on the fairway, and we're gonna roll nicely up to be approximately 375 yards. On the second shot, we're gonna do a bottom white pin check. As you can see here, we're moving our thorn to be above the pin and bottom of the white ring. This is also the reason why this is a thorn play, not a falcon play, because the rings are in a different size. 2 left spin, 2 back spin, ball guideline to go approximately 1 green square through the hole. Plus 3 is going to be 50% slider with a 10% elevation, P3 numbers, and then we're adding or subtracting 0.1 for every 2 yards. So we are making the adjustment and always pulling over the bullseye, center the ball and hit perfect, and this will be a very good chance. And this is a layup that works for wind 4 and wind 5. It's up to you to obviously choose what ball you want to play with. And then we obviously have the send it as well for those that do want to go with that. That's up to you once again to decide what play suits you. So for hole number 2, this is a money shot in my opinion. I start with a mauling to find the one right spin easier and be in complete minimum distance. And we move up to sniper, and we have the grizzly pack to find min line in a very easy way. 6.5 backspin, 1 right spin, and we are aiming with the tip of the ball guideline in the center of the dark green square that is to the right of the pin. We're looking for a straight pull favoring 12-1 if anything, and this angle is going to be classified as the yellow angle here, which is no curl or no adding or subtracting there either. Center the ball and hit perfect, and this is going to be an extremely good chance of dropping and holding 1. If we do have a little bit more tailwind, we would have to use a little bit of left curl, and the only thing that I could see as a risk is that if you aren't centering the ball properly and are using overpower, you could, if once again being very unlucky, clip the first rough. But to be completely honest, we do have a lot of room, and we need to make sure to at least center the ball fairly properly, otherwise we're gonna have to blame ourselves. Hole number 2, hole in 1, money shot. Get the guides on patreon.com/golfclashtom. So on the drive here, we are using the red ring by the rough line in complete max with Apocalypse level 8. And then we have 20% of the red ring overlapping the rough line to the left, and then we do have half of the red ring overlapping with Apoc 5 and 6. 5 top spin, 1 left spin. This can be played with a wind 4 and wind 5 ball. So if you don't want to spend a paid ball, you can use a Centurion or a Kingslayer or any other that do have side spin 1 and wind 4 minimum. Here I'm looking at that transparent line going from the ball to be just by the edge of the triangle. It's approximately 1.3 ball if we're going to measure it like that. And we are looking to get this ball up to around 370 to 380 yards. On the second shot on hole number 9, we are going to do a fringe check where the fringe meets the green. And we can play this shot with B52 level 5 plus, as it is a rough bomb. Then we're not relying that much on the ball guideline. 1.6 top spin and 1 right spin. Half of the red ring outside the rough to be on the fairway with the ball guideline to go through the hole. Adjustment here now, we do have the +1 as a base. And the +1 as a base is going to be 76% slider with a 25% elevation, power 3 ball settings. And then we're adding 0.1 from there. So if it would be +3 fringe check, for an example, we would still do the 76% slider, but we are then adding 0.2 to that adjustment. Perfect ball, and this is going to be a very good chance, as it is a straight crosswind. Over or under adjusting or hitting a great ball will not be any problems whatsoever. And the reason for that is that we once again have a straight crosswind, and the rough is perfectly aligned with that. Hole number 9, good chance in my opinion. This shot can be played with a wind 4 ball as well, such as a Centurion or a Kingslayer, for those who do not want to use a paid ball. Get the guides on patreon.com/golf-tommy. On hole number 4, from the 30 in a crosswind and in a headwind, we are going to play with a driver most likely. This, as it then is perfect for us to play from the min P2 line. Here I'm using some backspin and setting my quarterback at min with ball guideline to hole. Then the adjustment will differ depending on what wind direction I have here now in the headwind, but the true elevation is 10%. Now, again, you can play this one in many different ways, and like I said in the beginning of the like the voiceover here, that in a tailwind we are going to play with a wood club, and I would say that playing with a wood club here is more difficult, because you're gonna most likely have to adjust a lot of rings if you want to play with the sniper. But there are club swaps that you can do. You can do offsets. There are many different ways, but hole number 4 will always offer a good chance for a drop. On the drive on hole number 9, start with the rock and P3 ball at NMT. Swap to Apocalypse bag, add 6.9 top spin and 2 left spin. 6.9 is just 1 click before the 7 top spin mark. Adjust max +10 P3, and we're going to go with half a ball of left curl with max OP and a slow needle. If you do want to play with a P2 ball instead, you can swap to that ball after you have swapped to a POC bag. Make sure to pack the B52 level 7 or better, or that you pack the Goliath level 9, because we have shot for both. For the second shot with the B52 level 7 or level 8, we are going to use 4.7 top spin is what I would like to do. Here I'm using a little bit too much top spin in this replay, and you will notice me coming in a bit too hot. I want the ball guideline to be just shy of the hole, and that's to prevent us for coming in too hot, hitting the pin, and then miss out. Bottom of the yellow ring by the rough line, we are going to play this one with 50% slider. From +2 and +3, and we're gonna go -40% elevation, P2 numbers. adding or subtracting 0.1 for every 2 yards. Perfect ball, and we're bouncing into the rough, rolls up onto the green, dropping dead center for an eagle here on hole number 9. Hole number 6 of the Sakura Hills from the third tee, starting with QB and a P3 ball in NMT. Then I'm swapping to a POC and sniper bag. 7 topspin and 1 right spin, and we're gonna make an adjustment that is max plus 10. The intention with this type of play, especially when we do have a crosswind and a little bit of a headwind, is that we do want to use max overpower with a slow needle to allow ourselves to gain more distance than what we would be getting if we would be starting a P3 max rest. Now, you can start with a power 4 or a power 5 ball and do the same type of trick by using a power 4 ball and power 5 ball all the way through, but try to keep this playthrough video as to be P3 ball as minimum, especially when it comes to on the free-to-play side of things. The ball rolls nicely down the fairway, and from there we're going to have a rough bump to the approach. This is gonna be more or less at the max line with our sniper, which also speaks towards, I mean, the benefit of using a power 4 or a power 5 ball to give yourself more room. I'm setting up with the yellow rain by the sand and yellow rain by the rough line, and then I'm applying 2 green squares past the hole, being left side of the cup. Adjust here is 10% slider, 10% elevation, and then true club distance. What you need to have in mind though is that elevation can be changed. You don't have to play 10% here. It's all about what gets the ball in the hole. So if that means that you're gonna have to play 0 or 5% or something like that, then do that. It's just a number. So tweak it the way you can to get the desired outcome. Perfect ball hits the rough a little bit over adjusted, but we're dropping it hard on the left hand side. Hole number 7 of the Sakura Hills, a par 3, a tough par 3, I must say. And the reason I believe this is tough par 3, it's because we are somewhat forced to play a very aggressive line if we do want to have a chance for the hole in one. And that is we're going for a rough bump or either a sand bump. You can obviously go more left and go with more right spin. You can go more right and go with more left spin. But here I'm going straight at it. I like when it is a straight crosswind like this to go straight at it here. I'm setting up with my target in the rough, ball guideline through the hole, then I'm spinning, so I'm having the ball guideline just through the hole. Now, spins will obviously vary depending on what wind direction you have. I adjust max plus 20 with a P0 numbers, which is obviously wrong. We do want to use P6 numbers as we're using a P6 ball. That's why I'm missing a little bit to the right. A tough par 3, definitely attacking with an aggressive line for the hole in one. So for hole number 5, we're going to use a ball that gives us a wind preferably between 8.5 to 9.5 miles per hour. And we're going to use 4 left spin and 3 top spin, half of the transparent ring inside the rough. And then we are going to adjust max plus 10 P3. Apocalypse level 7 and level 6 is going to, Apocalypse level 5, 6, and 7 is still going to do the same type of adjust. The only difference there is that we're going to have to go with half a ring extra movement to the left with Apocalypse level 5. And the reason for that is the lesser curl it does have on that club. The goal is to get the ball to the green area, and even if the rough stands very close there, it's a very forgiving rough. Otherwise, we would have played it further back. For those of you that do not want to flirt with the hazard there by the green, could reduce and play 2.5 bar topspin instead, and aim for clipping the rough with the first bounce and roll out for a wedge to be around 75%. You will notice both of them, both of the wedges in the recordings that we do have. One other thing, when it comes to having higher wind, if you still want to keep the Kingslayer, if you have wind between 9.5 and 10 miles per hour, you push up half a ring after the adjustment. If you do have a wind that is above 10 miles per hour, you push up 1 ring after the adjustment to compensate for adjusting down the cliff. But the easiest way is to switch to a wind 5 side spin 4 P3 ball. So if being very close to the green, I would say that this is going to be better to play with no topspin here, as the green is very glitchy, and that's not something we do want to play into, because that would risk us missing. And so we avoid that. We play a regular EB school plus 20 elevation P3 numbers, and here I play this one 35% slider. Aiming at the hole, once again, no spin is being played. Making the adjustment and then hitting perfect. And then this ball is going to drop. And make sure to take a look at the other wedge video that we do have. If you do clip the rough, and then so for the longer wedge here, and that is if you do clip the rough, on with the drive and roll out, then you do have around a 75 to 80% wedge. Here I play 80% slider plus 20% elevation, P3 numbers, and no spin. I wouldn't recommend the max top spin due to glitchy spots on the green, and so we're playing this one no spin. But again, this is only if we clip the rough. We are most likely not going to clip the rough and roll out, but it's good to have as a backup. And also if you do decide to do less top spin, to not risk going into the bunker or something like that. So that's something that is worth to have in mind. Perfect ball, and this is gonna go in, and that's nice to end up here with an eagle. Get the guides on patreon.com/golfclashtommy. For hole number 8 of the Namhae Cliffs, this is in my opinion, a very interesting par 3. So you can play a rough bump, you can play a bounce on the fairway. The benefit from going for a rough bump is because it has a massive funnel from there. However, though, it's not without the risk. If you're hitting the rough too far up, you may risk going a glitch hole all over the green. So it's definitely a risk versus reward type of shot doing the rough bump. I'm adjusting here in this video 1-to-1. We need to adjust a little bit more. That's why I'm landing a little bit too far left in the rough with my first bounce. If you do play bouncing on the fairway, I would recommend to use a decent chunk of backspin, because the glitches are more common when it comes to bouncing on the fairway, especially if you are misreading the ball guide line. Again, need a little bit more adjust. We land too far, too close to the bunker, but this video is just for display if you want to play Namhae Cliffs hole number 8. Hole number 9. This is such a difficult hole where we do recommend to either play with the Thor's Hammer, if you do have Thor's Hammer level 8, because then you can use a lot of topspin, or you can obviously use the Apocalypse for a lot of distance combined with some good topspin as well. Doing some sort of reverse power hook, I think it's called. We'll see, we're gonna try to hit a hook there, yes, or reverse power hook, and this to remove the need of hitting perfect with a max overpower needle. We do want this ball to roll as far down the fairway possible, but I'm only playing with a P5 win 4 ball. Nowadays we do have P5 win 5 balls as well, which would allow us to get even further down the fairway. We also have topspin boost as well that could be used. But if we're not getting further than that, then the only way for us to do here is to try to trickle this ball onto the green or a short of green for a wedge. And that's going to be hard enough because we don't really have a good landing spot to land on. You can see how finicky this one is, and also how close we are to our max line. So when I'm adjusting here, we're going into overpower, and then the overpower that we are going to need to have is going to be a lot. So again, this is a headwind showing, and I like to show when it is very difficult, because you can't really get it more difficult on this one. And even if you do have a headwind of T here, regardless what ball and club you can use, this is going to be an eagle only, because there is not really a way to attack the pin. If we do have a tailwind or we have a crosswind, but mainly a tailwind, then it opens up for possibilities where either a sand bump or a rough bump from distance, or like a guardian backspin shot from distance as well might be a possibility. Hole number 4, we are going to look to have a very consistent drive. NMT with a P3 ball and quarterback to then swap to a pock and thorn bag. We're looking now to use 5.8 topspin and 1 right spin. Adjustment is max plus 20 P0, which is 1-1 with a pock 8. Once adjustment is done, we're going to center the ball and hit perfect. And this is a drive that goes in between 340 and 345 yards, or at least has done that the majority of the time when we have been playing this drive. And that is what it's all about here, trying to find a consistent way of getting the drive down the fairway to then have the thorn on the second shot, where we are setting 2 top spin and 3 left spin. We're then looking to have the tip of the ball guideline to go just through the hole. And you can see here now that we're doing some sort of a double bounce up, and that's a little bit finicky to find that position. So make sure to, if you don't feel confident with this going in, go into practice and give yourself a swing to just find that position in an easy way. From +3, we're playing 100% slider, which is max, and it's plus 5% elevation P3 numbers. Here we do add and subtract 0.1 for every yard. Center the ball, hit perfect, and we are bouncing up onto the green and rolling with a perfect speed dead center for an eagle here on hole number 4. Get our guide for expert and master division, qualifying round and final round for the Far East 9-hole cup at patreon.com/golf-tommy. So NMT P4 ball. Always start with a P4 ball, and we play with the 7 top and 2 right spin. This is a play adapted for Apocalypse level 6 plus. Those of you playing for Apocalypse level 5, it's not recommended here, in my opinion. We do make an adjustment, max plus 10 P5. And if you would like, you can swap to a P5 win 4 ball if you want to, but I don't see any need to. I'm just sticking with this ball. It's a slow needle, max OP, and we're playing with approximately 0.4 ball of curl. We bounce over to the other side. It's a controlled drive to avoid rolling into the rough, but with the bad great balls, we will most definitely roll into the rough. And then I recommend to pack the Amazon, because the Amazon will still reach, as we do have a tailwind, and then we do have all the backspin with Amazon to make a safe way of getting us to the green. This is option number 1 to have. That said, we will have a safer option as well for lower level clubs, but also for those that do not want to take any risk, because the second shot is going to be technical. So for the second shot, we are going to do a fringe check here. You can see that now we do have a fringe check that is +4. We should do the fringe check where the fringe meets the green, aligned with the pin, or the green square is aligned with the pin. 1.5 bar topspin and 2 right spin. You can see here now that I'm looking to add the topspin, and then we use the right spin. Now we're looking to have the tip of the ball guideline, 1 green square, 1 green square before the hole. And then we do a pullback of 5 rings. Very important that you do this pullback, or you will miss the rough all the time, because we're gonna adjust to a higher point now. So you can see here now that we're adjusting for 15% elevation. Our base is 50% slider, and then 15% elevation P5 from +7. So in this instance, we are deducting 0.3 to the number. And you see we bounce into the rough, we roll, and we get this ball to drop. I dropped this one a couple of times, and what I would like to say is that this is not an easy drop. Even if you would be getting a glitch roll from the rough, you won't roll into the rough on the other side or into the water. It will still be a safe eagle. But this is the aggressive option. We will have a safe option as well with Luminary and the Guardian, that we just take the Eagle and have an outside chance for an Alba. But this play here is definitely pushing for the best possible chance for an Albatross. Get the guides on patreon.com/golfclash. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching this playthrough for the Tranquil Gardens 18-hole cup. We are doing something for Master Division for this tournament when it comes to the ultimate tournament text guides, the best guides on the market, free to play alternatives and paintball alternatives, QR and final round. Scan the QR code on the screen or use the link in the description down below to patreon.com/golfclashtommy. Don't miss out the guides we're doing for the quick 9 format as well. We're doing a guide on the 17th of February and the 20th of February. Link to the post where you can buy access and be ready is in the description down below as well. I wish you the best of luck in your Golf Clash game.